Hey everyone, Scott here with another video, and last year during the first lockdown here in the UK I decided to read through the entirety of the Dragon Ball manga, and as I did I realised that there are some cards whose art is very clearly based on some of the panels in the manga. The most obvious example that came to mind for me was this one here with this Urgent Aid Kami. You can see the artwork on this card is very clearly based on this panel from the manga. I thought it'd be a pretty cool idea to look through the entirety of the manga again and see if there were any more examples I could find of cards that have art based on manga panels. Thought that might be a nice ongoing series I could do here on the channel from time to time. So that's what this video is going to be all about. This is going to be the first part where we're going to be looking at the Pilaf Saga. So like I say, this is going to be the Pilaf Saga. I am considering that to be chapters 1 to 23 because 23 ends with Goku going off to train with Master Roshi. I don't know if that's officially where the saga ends, but that seemed like a good breaking point for me. And one thing to point out is with these early chapters, the Pilaf Saga, there's not a ton of examples I could find. So I have also included a few panels that I thought would make for good card art in the future. Hopefully I won't have to do that with any of the other sagas going forward, but I guess we'll see once we get to those. So in terms of chapter 1, there was only one card I could find that is based on a manga panel, which is Dragon Radar. You can see here it's very clearly based on this panel here with Bulma with her outfit with her name on it, the one glove, she's kind of pointing to the Dragon Radar. So what you can see is not directly like traced or anything, it is definitely based on this panel here. I was surprised that this is the only example I could find from chapter 1. You'd think with this being where the series started that they would reference it a bit more often in the card game, but I guess not. There's actually quite a few panels in chapter 1 that I think could make good card art in the future. That would be these top 3 here. I mean, this is the very first time we see Goku. It's the very opening page where he's kind of rolling on this log with a big saw over his shoulder. I think this could make for a really cool card art, as would this here of Goku picking up the car with Bulma in it. And then I know there are a few cards that have Bulma riding this bike, or there's at least one, but there's not any with both Bulma and Goku, and I think it's pretty funny here. You can see kind of how calm Bulma is compared to how kind of freaked out Goku is. Similarly down here we have the first appearance of Roshi on the back of Turtle, and over here we have Goku carrying Turtle. As far as I know, there are no cards with Turtle on them. I would like to see him make an appearance in the card game in the future. Maybe he wouldn't necessarily get his own card, but maybe appearing in an artwork like this where he's being carried by Goku would be pretty cool. And then in one of the later chapters, about 5 or 6, we have this panel here that I think could be a pretty cool card in the future, with Oolong kind of trying to court Goku here where he's dressed up as a girl. And that would bring us to chapter 6, where we got 2 cards of Oolong that are very clearly based on manga panels. So you can see we got this one here where he's kind of tugging at the brim of his hat and looking a bit sly. And then down here, this is kind of on the borderline of what I would consider to be based on the manga directly. I mean, as you can see here, the angle is totally wrong. I mean, maybe this could be based on the anime. I didn't necessarily want to go through every anime episode as well as the manga to see. Maybe that is something I could do in the future once I've looked at all the manga cards, maybe go through the anime, and then we come on to some more panels that I think could make really cool card art in the future. So like, one thing I noticed going through this actually is there's a lot of cool vehicles in kind of early Dragon Ball. Like we got this thing here and this little car here, both Yamcha and Puar. I think these could be pretty cool card arts in the future. And then we have this bit here where Puar is transformed to try and be Goku, and Oolong is similarly transformed to try and be Bulma, and they kind of, neither of them realizes. They're both trying to kind of like trick each other. I think this is a pretty fun part of early Dragon Ball that probably deserves to have at least one card directly referencing it. This panel here I think is just a really funny reaction of Yamcha after he accidentally sees Bulma naked. This would be a pretty funny card art, although I don't know if that's necessarily something they want to be referencing in the card game. I think they do try and keep it kind of PG. And down here we have just like Yamcha realizing one of his teeth has been knocked out after a fight with Goku. And then over here we just have like Goku and Chi-Chi riding on the Nimbus. Considering what would go on between these two characters in the future, you know, they go on to have 2 kids. I think it would be pretty cool if we could get an artwork of a panel like this on a card. Then that brings us to the next direct reference, which is in chapter 16 when they get to the village with Monster Carrot. And we can see this one is very, very close to the actual artwork in the manga. It almost seems like it could have been traced from it. The only slightly weird thing about it is they've added these mushrooms here into the background, when this is very clearly an indoor kind of interior. And you can see here that she mentions that she's changed out of the bunny girl outfit. I know there are a few cards that have Bulma in the bunny girl kind of outfit, but I couldn't find any that are directly based on manga panels with like the direct poses and everything. That's why I haven't been including any of those. Like I say, I want to try and be kind of strict and keep it just to stuff like this where the reference is very clear and obvious. Then we move on to chapter 19 and we get a few panels of Pilaf's castle at around this point in the manga, but I think this is the one that is most clearly being referenced on the card art here. While it's obviously not one-to-one, you can kind of see everything kind of lines up. Although there is this extra weird little tower bit here that isn't on this artwork. And then in the same chapter we have this panel here of Pilaf blowing a kiss at Bulma. He's trying to get some information out of her. And this is, I guess, one of his tactics. And we can see that that's very clearly what this artwork here is based on. And then we have the very next chapter here, which this actually here is the entirety of this page, and you can see both of these panels have been turned into card art. You can see here this drawing of Oolong is very clearly based on this. Obviously there's no Shenron in the background here like there is on the card art, because we can see in the next panel he's way off in the distance. And similarly again we have this pose of Oolong here that could very well have been directly traced from this panel. Obviously on this artwork they've removed Mai, Shu and Pilaf, although I think it would have been cool for them to keep them in there. I mean, their kind of shocked expressions is pretty funny, but maybe with the card having to be a lot narrower than the panel, there just wasn't enough space to fit them all in. And as you can see, Shenron's appearance has been slightly tweaked here. I think this is to bring him more in line with how he appears later in the series, whereas this being one of his first appearances, he looks just a little bit different in the face, I think. And then in the very next chapter we have this 2-page spread actually of Goku busting in at Pilaf's castle. Again, this is another one where you can see it's not exactly correct in terms of the angle. I mean, this does maybe look a bit more dynamic, but you can see it's very clearly based on these 2 pages. You've even got stuff like this bit of the castle here that's been broken off pretty much the exact same way. And actually similarly to with Shenron, they've kind of updated the design of the Uzaru Goku, because you can see here he looks a lot different in the face again. The ears are slightly more curved, whereas here they're a bit more pointy. The eyes are a lot more square on the kind of newer design than on the older one as well. Like I say, this is just to bring it in line with how the Great Apes look a lot later in the series. And that's it. Like I said, with the Pilaf Saga, with it only being in 2 sets really, set 5 and set 10, there's not a ton of cards yet that are directly based on this saga, but those are all the ones I could find. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you think I've missed a card, let me know down in those comments below. I would love to know. And once again, thanks for watching.